On April 30th, 2012, the Calgary Stampeders signed a 22-year-old American quarterback named Bo Levi Mitchell. Little did then head coach and general manager John Hufnagel know what would be accomplished over the next half a decade. Now, just like nearly every great quarterback, Bo would sit behind the team's newly acquired quarterback, Kevin Glenn, after Calgary traded franchise icon Henry Burris to the Hamilton Tiger Cats that January. 2 years later, in 2014, Bo would get his shot after head coach John Hufnagel announced the controversial decision to start him over Drew Tate. Spoiler alert, it didn't turn out to be all that controversial. Earlier that year, Calgary signed the 23-year-old quarterback to a 2-year contract extension, keeping him in Cowtown through 2016. Bo would quickly make a name for himself. In week 1, he would throw for 313 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions in a dominant 29-8 victory over the Montreal Alouettes. And it also wouldn't take long for Bo to start setting records, as he would tie Jeff Garcia's CFL record for most consecutive wins as a starter, going a perfect 7-0. He would finish with a 12-2 record as a starter that season and guide the Stampeders to a league-best 15 wins, earning him a first-round playoff bye. The West Final would see Bo Levi Mitchell and the Stamps cruise to a 43-18 victory over their arch-rival Edmonton Eskimos to secure a trip to the 102nd Grey Cup and face the Hamilton Tiger Cats. An incredible first year as a starter would culminate in a Grey Cup championship, and to put the cherry on top, Bo would win Grey Cup MVP. Oh, and to any Ticats fans, don't worry, I won't mention it. Anyways, in 2015, not much changed for Bo Levi Mitchell and the Calgary Stampeders, at least in terms of winning. Calgary would end that year with a 13-4 record, but this time would finish second in the West due to losing the tiebreaker with who else but the Edmonton Eskimos. Bo would post career highs across the board in the regular season, finishing with a 65 completion percentage, 4,551 passing yards, and 26 touchdowns. All career highs. After torching the BC Lions in the Western semifinal at McMahon Stadium 35-9, Calgary would face a familiar foe in the West Final, this year at Commonwealth Stadium, the Edmonton Eskimos. Unfortunately, Bo and the Stamps were unable to finish off a 13-4 season with back-to-back Grey Cup championships as they would bow out to their rivals 45-31. Edmonton would go on to beat Henry Burris and the Ottawa Redblacks in the Grey Cup a week later. Now, before I move on, to any Ticats fans that may have been reminded of that heartbreaking 2014 Grey Cup, I get it, trust me, I'm about to relive my own heartbreak in the next 2 seasons. Now, moving on to the 2016 campaign. Bo was in for his best year yet, topping his numbers from the year prior, throwing for over 5,300 yards, 32 touchdowns to only 8 interceptions, while having a remarkable 107.7 passer rating. Now, Calgary actually lost their first game of the season to the Lions at BC Place, but then they would go on to win 15 of their next 16 games. The one game being a tie, not even a loss. They would end that season with an incredible 15-2-1 record. The Stampeders would obviously host the Western Final, setting up a matchup with the BC Lions. Domination would have been an understatement, as Calgary torched the BC Lions 42-15, as Bo would finish the game with an efficient 75 completion percentage, 365 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. It was once again off to the Grey Cup, this time squaring off against Henry Burris and the 8-9-1 Ottawa Redblacks. Needless to say, it was a roller coaster season for Ottawa, as they would shuffle quarterbacks throughout the regular season before settling on Burris heading into the playoffs. The regular season records, well, they were just that, regular season records, as one of the biggest upsets in Grey Cup history was brewing in the third quarter as Ottawa would jump out to a 27-7 lead. Now the Stampeders would rally all the way back, and with under 30 seconds left, second and goal, down 3, the Stamps found themselves at Ottawa's 2-yard line, just inches from taking the lead and winning the Grey Cup. But instead, third-string quarterback Andrew Buckley rolled out to his right and got tripped up, losing a yard on the play, now having to settle for the field goal and tie the game at 33. And just like that, we had overtime. And in the overtime, Calgary won the toss, but elected to go on defense first, letting Ottawa have the ball first. Burris in the offense would waste no time getting the touchdown, but were unable to convert on the 2-point conversion, allowing the Stamps a chance to win it. Unfortunately for Calgary, a 15-2-1 season would end in a heartbreaking fashion as they would turn the ball over on downs, losing their Grey Cup in overtime to the Ottawa Redblacks 39-33. 2017 began with a clear mission: redemption. With Bo Levi Mitchell at the helm, Jerome Essam still in the backfield, and the same dominant defense with Alex Singleton and Charleston Hughes, the Stamps returned hungry, focused, and determined to finish what they started. Any concern about the team possibly falling off was quickly put to rest as the Stampeders, after a 2-1-1 start, reeled off an 11-game winning streak, which included a 60-1 beatdown of the Hamilton Tiger Cats at McMahon Stadium.
What did you just say?
Yes, you heard me right. 60-1.
Wow.
It honestly seemed like nothing could get in the way of the Stamps making it back to their third Grey Cup in 4 years. But just as the playoffs neared, the momentum that had carried Calgary all year came to a sudden halt. The Stampeders would drop their final 3 games of the season. A team that looked so unbeatable for much of the year was suddenly looking very, very vulnerable. Despite the late season stumble, Calgary had still secured first place in the West. One home game stood between them and another shot at the Grey Cup. The West final would see a provincial showdown with who else but the Edmonton Eskimos. After being down 14-0 early, Calgary would rally back, even taking a double-digit lead after 3 quarters, 31-18. Edmonton would actually hold the Stamps to only 1 point in the fourth quarter, but it just wasn't enough as Calgary was headed back to the Grey Cup, defeating the Eskimos 32-28. Redemption was within reach. Calgary was back on the CFL's biggest stage. Their opponent, the underdog Toronto Argonauts, led by the ageless Ricky Ray and head coach Mark Trestman. Calgary came out strong, and unlike in 2016, they would actually hold the lead for much of the game. But like with any great mini-movie, here came the turning point. A fumble, up 8, late in the fourth quarter by Kamar Jordan, deep in Toronto territory, as Cassius Vaughn picked up the fumble and took it all the way back for the touchdown, followed by a 2-point conversion to tie the game at 24. Any momentum Calgary had was gone, just like that. Fast forward to under a minute, Stamps found themselves down 3 in scoring range, clock ticking. 2nd and 5, the season on the line. Bo looks for Markin Michel in the end zone, intercepted. For the second straight year, Calgary was standing on the field after the game, asking themselves what could have been. It was 2 straight years and 2 crushing Grey Cup losses. Bo Levi Mitchell and the 2018 Calgary Stampeders weren't interested in the hype. They had enough of that. It was all about business. It wasn't about the stats, streaks, or regular season dominance anymore. It was about finishing the job. The mission hadn't changed, but the urgency was at an all-time high. Bo was locked in from the start with the intent on rewriting the ending. For the roster, it had seen some changes. Veterans like Charleston Hughes and Jerome Messam were gone, but it just meant that others were going to have to step up. It was a season filled with adversity. Injuries hit the team hard. Receivers in and out of the lineup, on their way to a solid 13-5 record, with Bo Levi Mitchell later being named the CFL's most outstanding player, his second such time winning the award. It was on to the West Final, an inevitable hurdle to get back to their third straight Grey Cup. It was the defense who stepped up early for the Stampeders against the Blue Bombers, although Bo would still put up a respectable stat line with 214 passing yards and 3 touchdowns, all of them being to Eric Rogers. Calgary would hold on to defeat Winnipeg, winning 22-14 and advancing to their third straight Grey Cup. It was time for Bo and the Stamps to exorcise the demons that have haunted them for the past 2 years. The defense was smothering and absolutely took over from the opening whistle. The secondary picked off Trevor Harris 3 times and the pass rush never relented. On special teams, despite the very slippery conditions, made play after play after play, including a 97-yard punt return by Terry Williams to break the game open. And just like that, it was over. No more heartbreak, no more nightmares. The Calgary Stampeders were Grey Cup champions once again. This was redemption, but not just for the team. It was personal. For Bo Levi Mitchell, 2018 wasn't just about silencing critics. It was about legacy. And after 2 Grey Cup losses, the spotlight and pressure was on him, and he delivered. Over the next few seasons, Bo would deal with his fair share of injuries, and Calgary, while they would still have some success, they wouldn't see another Western Final or Grey Cup. By 2022, the writing was on the wall. Jake Maier was waiting in the wings, and for the first time in a decade, the Stamps would have a pivot under center not named Bo Levi Mitchell, as in the offseason, he was traded away to the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Bo Levi Mitchell's legacy with the Calgary Stampeders was defined by winning, and his resume, well, it speaks for itself. He's a 2-time champion, a Grey Cup MVP, a 2-time most outstanding player, 2-time CFL All-Star, 3-time CFL West Division All-Star, and ranks first in Calgary Stampeders history in passing yards, attempts, completions, and victories as a starting quarterback. At the end of the day, he didn't just live up to the Calgary Stampeders standard, he became the standard.